Once upon a time, there was a man named Shuichi Shegeno who wrote a manga called Initial D. It was about Japanese high schoolers and young adults who went up to the mountains to race their cars fast as shit and drift around in a way that was so iconic it practically became impossible to bring up street racing, or especially drifting, without incurring some sort of reference to the franchise. From the arcade game series that made him millions to the anime series that made him thousands, for so many people, Initial D captured the essence of the golden era of Japan's car culture. Just guys being dudes. At least I think it did. You know, I'm white, I live in South Dakota, and I wasn't even born yet when any of this shit was happening. But Initial D's historical accuracy is not what today's video is about. You see, there's an old saying, you gotta piss before you can shit. Nobody does their greatest work as soon as they sit down, sometimes it takes a while. That's not to say it's bad or anything, just what came before it. And Shuichi Shegeno is no different. Between 1983 and 1995, Shegeno had 4 series ranging from romance to sports to even trying his hand at superpowered fighting shonen like Dragon Ball or Yu Yu Hakusho. Yeah, I figured out what show was. Turns out you just gotta Google it in Japanese instead of English, and oh look, there it is. Yeah, so if anything I said in that iceberg video that is lost, I wouldn't be surprised if you could actually find it by just Googling it in Japanese. I'm actually like kinda dumb for not thinking of doing that before. But out of all the wild and wacky non-Initial D shit this bastard made, the most notable other series Shegeno made could easily be described as Initial D's older, homeless brother, 1983's Vroom Vroom Legend. Or if you want to sound slightly less stupid, Bari Bari Densetsu. Bari Bari Densetsu is about Japanese high schoolers and young adults who go up to the mountains and race their motorcycles. Fast as shit. Bari Bari Densetsu follows the delinquent adventures of Gun Koma, a character who is well aware of how cool his name is and he's about to make it everyone else's problem. If you can believe it, in this series about motorcycle racing, Gun Koma is an aspiring motorcyclist, and since it's an anime, racing motorcycles is just about the only thing anyone cares about or talks about. But unlike Initial D that got 48 volumes, 5 full seasons, 4 movies, a live-action movie, several musical spin-off albums, a sequel series, global localizations, plus like 100 video games, Bari Bari got 38 volumes, 2 OVAs, 1 video game, and a couple of soundtrack albums, which were so obscure I couldn't get them online. I had to actually physically import them from Japan and then rip them myself. We'll talk a little bit more about these albums later though. By the way, the full soundtracks that's featured in the OVAs never got fully released. These aren't all the songs. The one that's online, those aren't all the songs. Why even bother living in this world? Like, seriously. But the most inconvenient part of this is that none of this shit, the manga nor the OVAs, were ever released outside of Japan, and they have never been officially localized. Fan subs exist for the OVAs, but as far as I can find, whoever was translating the manga stopped 4 chapters in, which all more or less happens in the OVA, so I didn't learn much new from the text. But I do have the entire manga. There's a torrent of ways to get a hold of it, such as buying it legally, which I did not do. And in theory, I could just look at the pictures and try to piece together the 38-volume story from nothing but the pictures. Yeah, I don't fucking know. Technically, I could run every individual page through Google's image translate tool, but, no. So if you don't live in Japan, and more importantly don't speak Japanese, this series is hard to get into. The OVA that we're going to talk about in a second did actually just get a Blu-ray re-release a few months ago for the nice price of 11,000 yen, or 73 bucks, plus international shipping with no subtitles. Probably not something you should buy. But enough bitching about how hard it is to engage with this series at all. I mean, is it even worth it if we could? Well, we have the OVAs. I got it legally, don't even worry. I found it on the ground, it's fine. So let's talk about it. And obviously, if you want to watch the OVAs first before listening to me talk about them, let's just say they're in the same place you watched Fifth and Final Stage. If you get my drift, you know, get my drift. You know, it's an anime, so you got your basic elements, hot-headed MC who's good at whatever the theme of the series is. You know, what's this about? Motorcycles, cool. Gun Koma is the best at motorcycles. He's the best at motorcycles. But he's no Takumi Fujiwara. If Takumi's theme song was, all I do is win, 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 no matter what, Guns is, oh, I just crashed my motorcycle, oh, fuck. Now this little shit Hideyoshi shows up immediately in the very first scene, and they have a race on an iconic Toge Mountain Pass. Oh yeah, we are so fucking back. I think the first thing you're probably gonna notice here is that giant pile of jizz in your pants, because holy shit, this animation is incredible. Unlike Initial D that was made in a digital age with the help of computers and Satan, Bari Bari was made in 1986 where all they had was good old-fashioned hand drawing, so the motorcycle scenes throughout this OVA are just like the visual equivalent of garlic bread. Love garlic bread. I find it beyond impressive the sense of speed they're able to convey through these drawings. This is a masterpiece of animation. The dynamic between Gun and Hideyoshi is simple. They hate each other and they're pretty rude in their correspondences. But it's enjoyable to watch. I mean, what classic anime would be complete without a tall main character and his 4'3" rival who will eventually become his friend after they gain a mutual respect for one another? But what anime would be worth a shit without a cute, socially awkward, dumbass girl who's madly in love with the main character? This is Ai, and she has a dream. To date a delinquent gang leader because she saw a movie where someone did that and thinks it would be cool. Yeah, lady, I don't know about that. I think there's another movie you might want to watch. It's called Saints Row 2 All Cutscenes. Whole lot of bad things happen to the girlfriends of gangsters in that movie, okay? Not to mention Gun Koma, like, isn't even in a gang. Like I keep saying, that's just his actual name. You know, he's not a Chicago drill rapper. It's not his cool guy name, he just is named Gun Koma. Anyway, if you like city pop, otherwise known as Japanese pop from the 1980s, and you're watching a review of an anime OVA, so I know you like city pop, Ai is voiced by Yoko Oganome, who is a Japanese pop artist from the 1980s. You might know her song Dancing Hero Eat You Up. Here's like 1 second of that song. And if any of you are Initial D fans, the music video for her song, is her working at a gas station. Y'all like gas stations, right? Oh, it's just like in the show! Nah, but for real, though, something about her working as a mechanic just has me... fucking... Oh my god. Why isn't anybody making music videos like this anymore? Like, I'm serious. To all the international pop artists watching me right now, step your shit up. You think you're too good for throwing some Mad Max shit on a high school theater stage, then having shirtless post-apocalypse gays play their M16s like guitars? Oh, and she also does have a Eurobeat version of Dancing Hero, so it's all connected. Here's like 1 second of that song. And of course, since they got her to voice a character in the movies, they also got a handful of her songs in them, like Non-Stop Dancer, Namida wa Speed Yarasu Kara, and Slopni Tenkayame. Bitch-ass YouTubers be like, sorry if I butcher this, fuck outta here. Shit ain't even that hard to say. Sorry, I just went crazy off topic talking about Ai's voice actress more than her as a character. Ai's dream in life is literally to be a backseat babe. She wants to be the babe on the backseat of a motorcycle. I guess they must exist, but I feel like every time I see a backseat babe in real life, they always look like really nonplussed to be there. Not Ai though. She wants to be Gun's backseat babe more than anything. Even he's like, what the fuck? Ai's characterization or personality is very strange to nail down in this. The word autistic gets thrown around a lot these days, probably way more than it should, but Ai is definitely written as someone who's very ill-equipped socially. Like, she has friends, we see that she does have friends in the first scene that we meet her, but then later on there will be scenes where she makes eye contact with people and her inner monologue is literally like, I'm not sure what to do, I think I'm supposed to smile. And then she makes a weird face. Like, there's something going on with her where, like, she doesn't know how to socialize with people, but also does. I don't know what's going on with this hoe. Anyway, what anime would be complete without the main character's best friend who's just kinda there? Hiro is a character who also rides motorcycles and he has a crush on me. No, not me, Miyuki. This character, because what anime would be complete without a girl with giant pink hair? Okay! But what's the plot? Stop yelling. So part 1 of the OVA is mainly focused on Gun realizing he's just bagged the weirdest bitch ever, and then also proving his racing skill to Miyuki, who happens to be the daughter of the president of the Itchy Nose racing team. The team name derives from the fact that you can't scratch your nose while you're racing because of your helmet. But because of her family ties to the team, her position is viewed as nepotistic by senior racers who call her the princess and resent her and any of her friends that she brings on as just being her gang of rich brats. This is particularly how this bitch Satoru views her hero, and especially Gun. You know, since Gun is really good at racing, so obviously he's a nepo baby. Okay, so real shit, and I can't believe that this is the first time I've ever had to give like a serious content warning for a movie I'm talking about, but if you don't want to hear about sexual assault, skip to this time code, because I do need to talk about the scene and kind of go into detail about just how fucked up it is. But if you don't want to hear about any of that, skip to this time code. Me talking about it isn't going to be like funny or anything. The dramatic finale of this first part involves Satoru, the guy Gun was racing earlier, kidnapping Miyuki with several of his friends and taking her to a remote location to attempt to violently sexually assault her. Now, thankfully, Gun and Hiro do show up before anything too fucked up can happen, but this scene is still brutal to watch. She gets punched in the stomach and then in front of everyone has her clothes cut open, leaving her in the fetal position on the ground shaking, holding what's left of her shirt to cover her chest and only her underwear still intact. Then Satoru tells her that looking like this, she's not cute anymore, which triggers this disturbing childhood memory of her mother telling her not to focus so much on motorcycles. She should try to be cute so she can get married and start a family, but her father tells her, do what makes her happy, worry about that stuff later. We come back to the present, and as Satoru begins cutting off her underwear, she begins crying and thinking, "Mama, I wish I could have been a cute girl. Papa, I'm sorry things turned out like this." Blaming herself for what's going on right now. And that's when, of course, Gun and Hiro show up and whoop the shit out of everybody, and she's safe, and nothing it doesn't cross that threshold into being maximum fucked up, I guess. Now, you may be wondering, why did this scene happen? Is this a major moment in Miyuki's character development? Does the story take time to address Miyuki's trauma and result in some sort of inner turmoil and fear of returning to motorcycle racing and her safety as a young woman in the sport? And no. This scene is so Hiro can save her and they can have a romantic moment. What the Maybe the manga handles this all better. I don't know, I still can't read Japanese, but I do know that they draw her naked in the same chapter, and you don't need a translation for that. And it is possible that there was truly a more artistic reason for doing that in this chapter. Google Translate can only take me so far. Maybe the scene only looks so shallow and fucked up because it's in an OVA where it would be impossible to give us the full context as to why this scene had to happen. Because otherwise, it just seems like the scene was an excuse to strip a character for sadistic pleasure. Which is pretty bad since the manga has no problem just showing the characters naked. Here's a scene from the comic of I naked for just no reason. They just do it. I think when it comes to art, I do kind of tend to lean towards the it's your story, do whatever you want camp. I would never say that you shouldn't be allowed to depict dark and fucked up things in your story. But I do think you need to have a damn good reason to subject everyone to this, especially when it's about racing motorcycles. If we have to take such a dark and fucked up detour, make it pay off in any way. Okay, bad scene is over. The other big thing that happens in part 1 is Hideyoshi, this guy from the beginning, transfers to gun school because what anime would be without a transfer student? And they still hate each other, of course. They go for a final mountain pass race. It's beautifully animated. And then Gun starts losing control, so he kicks off a guardrail. Miyuki ends up seeing the race, and as she drives away, she's like, "Those two, if they could work together, they'd make for one hell of a super combo." And that's where part 1 ends, and part 2, or as I like to call it, the good part, begins. Okay, so overall, part 1 is, as a racing movie, not that great. The scenes at the practice track are cool, as are the mountain pass duels between Gun and Hideyoshi, but this is kind of just exposition and then an extremely disturbing scene at the end for pretty much no reason. I'm not afraid to admit the stuff with Gun and Ai is kind of cute, but it's also pretty standard tough boyfriend, weird girlfriend anime dynamic shit. I think Shuichi is good at writing slice of life stuff to make us actually care about the races when they happen. That's one of my favorite things about early Initial D, but since this is a OVA, we don't quite get enough time to get fully invested in a race or a slice of life. I definitely think it's worth it to watch if you're going to check these out, but part 2 is what you want when you hear the author of Initial D made a motorcycle racing series 2, because this part is where Bari Bari really shines. In part 2, Gun, Hiro, and Hideyoshi are invited by Miyuki to compete in a 4-hour endurance race at Suzuka over their summer break under her father's racing team. They'll be racing as 2 pairs, her and Hiro as the first pair, and Gun and Hideyoshi as the second. Wait, Gun and Hideyoshi? But they hate each other. But the big-time racetracks are all they've ever wanted. Can these 2 pieces of shit put their difference aside for 4 hours? To risk it all for their dreams? I don't know. Does a motorcycle go? Despite his tough guy demeanor, Gun knows he's actually a much worse motorcyclist than Hideyoshi, and he knows that Hideyoshi wants it more than he does, so he's liable to completely fuck this up if he can't get real good real fast. Imagine if this was set in modern day America and his name was still Gun. Every time anyone addresses him, the school will go on lockdown. When we finally do get to Suzuka Circuit and the endurance race gets going, I really can't describe it any other way than it's like watching Initial D for the first time all over again. For as much shit as I give Shuichi, he used to be such a master of writing race scenes that are just exhilarating to watch. Not only is the animation, sound design, and score just unbelievable, but the sideline commentary from Gun commenting on Hideyoshi, Hideyoshi commenting on Gun, the team leader staring low and going, "He's the greatest motorcycle rider in the motherfucking world." It's what I love so much about the early stages of Initial D, how it was able to continually build up the tension and keep viewers on the edge of their seats, always introducing new little obstacles and little oh shit moments, and honestly, Suzuka might be the best race he's ever written. I mean, I haven't read his track and field manga Dopey Can, there might be a really swag foot race in that one, but Gun and Hideyoshi have this hilarious running joke where every time they switch off from riding, they just full force Dio punch each other in the stomach like so hard, Hideyoshi goes flying like 15 feet backwards. It is so sick. But as the race keeps going, eventually Miyuki crashes due to heat exhaustion, and Hideyoshi crashes because this pink guy purposely cuts him off. Hideyoshi's crash might be one of the best moments this guy has ever written. Hideyoshi is a complicated little guy. His parents died in a car crash when he was young, and ever since he's been taking care of his younger sister while desperately trying to pursue his dream of being a professional motorcycle racer. Basically, it's place well at Suzuka or he's done. And as soon as he's airborne, the only words he can say are, "It's over. For both my summer and my dream. It's the end of everything." But this hopelessness quickly subsides as he realizes he's not that far from the pit stop. And so with all the strength he has left after his brutal crash, grits his teeth and pushes himself to the limit to deliver the bike to Gun so he can finish the last hour and a half of this race, all by himself. Can Gun even do it anymore? Is he good enough to do this? Has he been racing too hard? Is the bike gonna survive? Not to mention, they're a full lap behind right now, but Gun is so inspired by Hideyoshi's spirit that he says, "Man, fuck it, dog. I'm going mega mode." And I mean, there's only so many ways I can say it. Shuichi knew how to make a race scene feel like the most intense shit in the universe. The music gets all dynamic, the engines get louder, and they cut to the racers' inner monologues, and they're all like, "I'm going to win! Nothing has ever mattered more than this. If this other guy wins, we all lose. The plague will take root in our homes, and the crops will wither." And then the sax solo comes in. And they do the ultra detail anime freeze frame thing, and they're all so exhausted from pushing themselves so far past their limits for hours and hours on end, and the color drains away from the scene. I swear to God, if you don't win! Of course he fucking wins, he's the main character, what are you, stupid? But in the age-old game of who would win, Hideyoshi going full speed on a motorcycle or a car, Hideyoshi does not win. He dies at the end of the movie. Real bummer way to end the film. The boys pulled off the win of the century, they were well on their way to becoming pro circuit racers, then boom, he dies having a fun little race with Gun for the hell of it before they both go pro. From what little of the series I'm able to get into, there's definitely one aspect of it that really sets it apart from Initial D. It's dark. Initial D had its moments for sure, but Bari Bari has far more of them. From extremely uncomfortable scenes of assault to physical fights, dead parents, deadly accidents, this is not the easygoing, happy time fun show that Initial D usually was. And again, that's just what the OVAs have. I don't really know what else is in here. Initial D rarely ever acknowledge the extreme danger associated with street racing or even just racing in general. In real life, people actually got pretty f***ed up doing this stuff, and I actually think Initial D probably should have made a point of that like Bari Bari did. I read this post on the Initial D subreddit a few months ago that was a father talking about how his oldest son and his son's friend had recently died trying to drive fast on a mountain road in their city because he was trying to time himself and get faster like they do in Initial D. And it made me think about a lot of things, particularly about an author's responsibility to the world their work will influence. On the one hand, the overwhelming, insanely overwhelming majority of Initial D fans, or hell, even Fast and Furious fans, drive safe and are normal people who understand that it's all exaggerated and fantasy, so it's dumb to point fingers at the writers and say, "It's your fault! Why didn't you think of the children?" But on the other, Initial D is much more grounded in reality than most cartoons. It's real cars, real mountains, real techniques, and that's all really exciting and interesting, but it also, whether intentional or not, sends the message that you could do this too. A message that obviously some people received. You can't be Goku or fight in a mech or get a girlfriend or most any of these ridiculous anime premises, but driving your car fast and whipping it around? That's pretty doable. Here's videos of people doing it, but it's also pretty dangerous, both for you and anyone else unlucky enough to be sharing the road. But what the hell, right? Nobody ever got all that hurt in the series. I don't really know where I land on this issue that I brought up myself. I don't want to sound like some banned GTA parents group here or something dumb like that, but after reading that man's post about his son and then seeing Hideyoshi's death in Bari Bari, it did make me wonder if Initial D including a moment like that where a popular character dies suddenly street racing might have saved even one person from thinking, I can be Takumi too, and driving head-on into oncoming traffic. I think if you want to race, maybe just get a Logitech steering wheel and play some Forza instead, or go out to your local track instead of public roads. Yeah, let me know down below what you guys think. Am I cooking here, or have I been hammering nails into my forehead before I wrote this? Yeah, so anyway, part 2 of the OVA, it's pretty good, you know, it made me think. Probably the greatest single race the man has ever ridden, and it doesn't even have Eurobeat, and it's on a circuit. It's insanity. It's just incredible. The original music, the animation, the writing, dare I say it, it's the Pineapple Fanta of motorcycle racing anime. For now, unless someday they go back and revive it, all we can do is dream of if this series got picked up for a full-blown episodic adaptation. There's certainly enough here to do it. I mean, shit, 38 volumes is only 10 less than Initial D. You can do a couple seasons of this, no problem. There's a ton here that I like, and I would love to see more of this world and these characters with more time to take it all in, hit the races with no filler, all killer. With Bari Bari getting a Blu-ray re-release in Japan back in July of this year, 2023, it's definitely possible that Kodansha is testing the waters to gauge interest in the series these days, and I wish I could tell you all, hey, go order the Blu-ray, support the official release, show them that there's people who want this, but like I said earlier, it's only in Japanese, they aren't catering to Whitey here. This release has no subtitles, it's not even something you can order overseas without the help of Bai or some other similar service, and worst of all, it's just way too expensive. $73 for a 2-hour cartoon from the 80s? Shut the hell up. No. Shine. What else is there to say though? You know, it's in this very awkward place where to even watch it or to read it, you have to know where to look, know where to go. And even beyond that, it's like, you can't read it if you can't read Japanese. To watch the OVAs with subs, you have to go to shady places on the internet that I don't think I'm legally allowed to tell you, but you know where to look I think you know where to look. This is a series that's just kind of, like, lost isn't the right word because it's not lost, you know, I have the VHS of the OVA, like, it's just hard to get into. And if it weren't for me buying and importing and backing up these soundtracks digitally, like, we wouldn't have them. And there's some heat on these soundtracks.
Listen!
At the end of the day, it's hard to say for sure why Bari Bari never met the same success that Initial D did. Maybe without the help of computers, Satan, and Italian Disco, the task of trying to do a weekly animation with Motorcycles proved way too daunting, so they settled on 2 OVAs for fun, and that was that. Maybe if it had come out later, technology could have... okay, never mind. It is a lot easier to 3D model a race and hand draw it, and it's a lot easier to 3D model a car than a man on a bike. But you know, anything is possible. Initial D's manga is getting a new translation and re-release in English here soon. Japan just got a full series Blu-ray release. It's way too expensive and only in Japanese, but still baby steps. Motherfucking Ghost is out, and Sung Kang is even set to direct a new live-action Initial D movie. It's an exciting time to be a fan of the series, and I hope soon it'll be time for more people to become fans of Bari Bari Densetsu too. There's not really an ending here, you know, Bari Bari is cool, and if you want more Initial D, you've been really itching for it, and MF Ghost somehow isn't doing it for you, maybe give Bari Bari a shot. If they never end up doing a full-scale anime adaptation, or they never end up localizing it officially, then it's going to be on the community, it's going to be on people who want to translate it and want to read it to give us that choice. And I hope maybe someday we can. Not me though, readings for nerds.
Let's get some pussy tonight.